What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Fragbite THOR Open Qualifier number 6. This is a matchup between Team Zero on the Radiant side versus Druidz.Dota on the Dire side. Druidz.Dota is, I think, a team from the United Kingdom, so some British Dota up in here. And meanwhile, Team Zero, the German All-Stars, featuring players like Hiroki, Fada, RMN, Black. I think Alex should be in it, but maybe Past is Alex. I think Past is the manager, but we'll see. So Team Zero, probably one of the favorite teams, and it's a little bit unfortunate for them because Black did actually qualify with no Tyrant in the second or third qualifier. But of course, Black then left no Tyrant to join Team Zero. So no Tyrant spot still had S4, Eternal Envy, Admiral Bulldog, so that is Zelota's new team. But we'll see if Black can once again make the magic happen and qualify for the Fragbite THOR Open LAN Finals in Stockholm, Sweden, competing for around $20,000 in cash prizes. So I'm not too sure how Druids will pick our band, but we can expect probably similar to the standard bands. Heroes like Darkseer, Undying, Batrider, most likely Darkseer, Batrider will see the first couple bands. But it looks like Team Zero, GDB team, but this is Team Zero because they are no longer being sponsored by the GD Studios, I don't think. That was just a one-time event to send them to the Star Ladder Finals. But Hiroki is going to be the captain, and of course Black has made himself into one of the most notorious farmers in today's metagame, consistently carrying his team to victory. He has been on a roll. But we'll see if Team Druids can put a stop to that in the second round of the Fragbite THOR Open Finals. Both of these teams did have walkovers, so we'll see. Rubik is going to be the first ban by Team Zero. Rubik not usually a first ban material hero, but keep in mind that Team Zero does have first pick. So they don't want to ban somebody too overpowered so they can hopefully get their hands on it themselves. So we'll see what Druids decides to ban. Probably Darkseer or Batrider seem to be the most appropriate bans in this situation because those are two very powerful heroes, but that would leave Zero open to picking up a very strong hero on their first pickup. They decide to ban out the Batrider. Makes a lot of sense. So what will Team Zero do? Because if they don't ban out a strong hero here, Druids might just let Zero pick up a really strong hero and then pick up two strong heroes themselves, and looks like Zero decides to ban out the Wisp. Wisp becoming a very, very situational ban, but apparently Team Zero do not like playing against the Wisp. Wisp, more so known for being used in team strategies, really strong ganker, pretty strong support, does help his team in the late game and the early game, very, very powerful ganker. But not usually banned in the first round phase. But that does mean that both of these teams will have the potential to pick up very, very powerful heroes in their first couple of picks. Templar Assassin, Undying, Darkseer are all still in the pool at the moment, and it wouldn't be too surprising to see Druids ban out the Darkseer right now to avoid Zero from picking him up, because the Darkseer seems to be the hero in the current metagame. Or at least the hero to ban at this point. Druids taking a while to think about their ban. Darkseer probably going to be the ban right here, but Druids not shy about using some of their reserve time at the moment. They still have quite a bit of time. This patch very, very versatile, so we'll see if Zero comes up with any sort of crazy picks. I know one of Kuroki's favorite hero is the Meepo, so maybe they can pick Meepo in a strategy. And Bounty Hunter is actually the first pickup by Team Zero. Bounty Hunter, a very, very potent offlaner, very, very powerful hero because he doesn't really need to do anything. He just needs to hit level 6 and then just provide that track bounty gold to all of his team. And if he does that, then his team can get a really, really solid gold advantage or come back for a potential early game deficit. Bounty Hunter, one of the few heroes who can make up a deficit in a very short amount of time just on the power of track. Meanwhile, Druids immediately responds with the Darkseer. We'll see if they pick up something like a Templar Assassin right here, because those are probably two of the most powerful heroes still left in the pool at the moment. But if they don't pick up TA, it wouldn't be too surprising to see the Team Zero to pick up TA themselves. But Druids have their own loft laner at the moment, but so far Darkseer of course synergizes very well. Darkseer probably the most powerful offlane hero in Dota at the moment. Can easily run away from any engagement with Surge if the opposing team mistimes their stun, and because he has 5 base armor and a reasonable strength growth, he can survive a lot of the damage even if his Surge is a little bit mistimed. And of course, Ion Shell allows the creeps to push in, very, very powerful, and they pick up the Jakiro, so they pick up an early support. Jakiro probably the de facto support right now. Very, very powerful. Ice Path 90 mana cost at level 1, and with ridiculous range, pretty easy to land. Jakiro is a no-brainer in a lot of these situations. So we'll see what Team Zero decides to do. Will they pick up Templar Assassin? Will they go a little bit more unorthodox? Conventional wisdom says they'll pick up something like a Templar Assassin and a Venomancer, even though Venomancer has fallen off a little bit because of his huge nerfs to his early game due to the mana cost increase of Venomous Scale. Or will they pick up something, maybe pick up a really strong carry for Black right out of the gate? Sven has been receiving a lot of attention because God Strength is so ridiculous. At level 3 gives Sven 200% increased damage. Pretty powerful spell. Templar Assassin is as strong as she ever has been, especially with Batrider out of the pool. Darkseer does a reasonable job in contesting Templar Assassin, but Darkseer will be going in a different lane against TA at the moment. They pick up Magnus as well as Keeper of the Light. Magnus has been receiving a lot of play in the mid lane and in the off lane, but Bounty Hunter is already their off lane hero at the moment, so we'll see if Magnus decides to go in the middle lane. Shockwave, of course, very powerful in terms of farming, in terms of pushing creep waves and power, giving bonus damage and cleave damage to your carry. Definitely cannot be taken lightly. And speaking of light, we have Keeper of the Light. Probably one of the heroes who receives a lot of the first ban phase attention as well, so pretty interesting to see him picked up. A lot of teams don't really like to run him, they more just like to ban him because he's so annoying to deal with. He must be one of the most annoying heroes in the game to play against. Illuminate just prevents your team from pushing in. He gives your heroes so much mana to work with. But it looks like Druid's going for an extremely team fight based lineup. They have picked up the Tidehunter, a very tanky hero with that Ravage, of course, coming in 150 seconds. Pretty much hits everybody on the team, but they do have to be careful against a team like Magnus on it because Magnus has a 100-second cooldown ultimate, 4-second stun at its max level, and pulls everybody in, even without the help of the Darkseer Vacuum. So Magnus will be very effective, and if that Tyrant ultimate's on cooldown, you can be rest assured that the GDB team, or Team Zero, will just go in and destroy the Druid's opposition once they know Ravage is down. So it might fall on Druidz to be a bit more defensive. I don't expect the Team Zero to be too defensive. Keeper of the Light, very defensive hero, but can perform pretty admirably in offensive role because he gives his team so much mana, can push down creep waves very easily, and even if they don't have the Illuminate coming in, they have Shockwave, they have a bunch of other spells. So GDB starting to ban out some very powerful carries. They ban out the Void, who synergizes extremely well with Darkseer and Jakiro. Macro Power in conjunction with Vacuum and Chronosphere. Man, I don't want to be in that team fight. Meanwhile, Druid's decided to ban out the Brewmaster, so eliminating some of the mid-solo options, and banning out the Venomancer, a very powerful support hero right now. Maybe they're going to ban it out to protect the Templar Assassin pick, because TA is still in the pool. It's very uncommon to see TA not receive a pick or a ban at this stage in the game, and finally Team Zero does decide to ban out the TA, sensing that Druidz might want to pick it up themselves because they ban out the Venomancer. Pretty smart ban by Team Zero. Meanwhile, Druidz, what will they go for? Keeper of the Light can synergize quite well with a lot of carries. Gives mana to PL for spamming of the Phantom Lance, or the Spirit Lance. Can give mana to Sven, who's a very mana dependent hero early on. Gives mana to Chaos Knight, who again is a very mana dependent hero early on. So Keeper of the Light does synergize quite well. They decide to pick the greater of two evils, decide to ban out the Sven. Sven, with his damage increase, is just such a powerhouse. Warcry, of course, giving everybody armor. That 70% cleave in conjunction with the Empower cleaved bonus. Man, he'll be cleaving for 100% in no time. So they decide to ban out Sven. If they got all their buffs stacked on Sven, man, I don't know how Druidz would be able to handle that Sven at all without just surging and just playing very defensive. But keep in mind, God Strength does last for 20 seconds. So rather than dealing with that problem head on, they decided to remove it entirely from the picture. Meanwhile, Team Zero decides to pick up the Shadow Shaman. We'll see what lane he decides to go in. They could put a farming Magnus and put Shadow Shaman in the mid lane, because Keeper of the Light will be a support most likely. Shadow Shaman could be a support in the Triline as well, but he does benefit from levels. If you get those Serpent Wards up quickly, you can push down towers very quickly. And keep in mind, Darkseer needs a decent amount of time to get levels. Tidehunter really has to go in quite close to cast his Anchor Smash to clear out creep waves, and he'll most likely be in the Triline. Jakiro will probably be in the Triline as well, so it might behoove Team Zero to put Shadow Shaman in the middle lane, try to get as much experience as possible, then get the Mass Serpent Wards up as soon as possible. because Team Druidz won't be able to stop him with their current picks. Meanwhile, Team Druidz only 12 seconds left on their reserve time. Probably a little bit puzzled. They pick up the Chaos Knight. Not too sure if I like this pick. Not too much AoE to go through a potential push. Very, very tanky hero with solid stun. Does bring some late game DPS to them as well. Doesn't really synergize too well with the Darkseer. Already has fast move speed. But then again, Darkseer synergizes pretty well with any hero in the game. But I think maybe a Naga would have been a smart pickup here. But Naga, of course, you still have to rush in Song and Siren. No longer working with the invulnerability of Vacuum. Not as brain dead as it has been. But I think Riptide, in terms of clearing out creep waves, might have been a bit more effective. Chaos Knight doesn't really have any AoE to speak. But maybe they can get that Reality Rift, try to catch a hero like Keeper of the Light or Shadow Shaman out of position, then focus them down. I'm not too sure of Druidz' game strategy. Team Zero, on the other hand, picks up a Dragon Knight, so they're going all-out push. Dragon Knight, probably one of the most tanky heroes in the game. Pretty strong push once he hits level 6. That poison attack from the level 1 dragon form does deal damage to towers, residual damage to towers. Very, very strong, and because he's such a beast at tanking everything with his insane armor, 12 armor from the Dragon's Blood, he'll be able to stand in the front lines of the battle. If he picks up something like an early pipe, then there's really not too much Druidz can stop him unless Chaos Knight gets ridiculously farmed. So I think at the moment I am favoring Team Zero. They have a solid amount of disables. They have a very powerful offlaner. It'll just depend on how they decide to lane it. They could run dual lanes mid. Meanwhile, Necrolite is going to be the pickup by Team Druidz. I'm not too sure if I like this pickup either, but I think if it comes to late game, Necrolite does fare quite well against Dragon Knight and Magnus. No, not too many natural Hex carriers. Shadow Shaman, of course, already has that built-in Hex, and not too many natural Orchid carriers either. Bounty Hunter could pick up the Orchid, and Necrolite can just stand in the middle of battle, get that Death Pulse off. If he picks up a kill, even more mana to spend up Death Pulse due to the increased burst of Sadist regen he gets. But again, Necrolite does take quite a while to get going, in my opinion. He does need, at least he wants level 8 so he can get, or level 9 so he can get all the points of Death Pulse and Sadist, get a point of Reaper Scythe. But yeah, this is a little bit of a puzzling pick, at least for me to decipher. Maybe they just want to try to out-tank the Zero team. They have very tanky heroes. They have probably the tankiest supports in the game in the form of Twin Head Dragon and Darkseer and Tidehunter. And they have 2 tanky carries, so maybe they're just going to try to outlast Team Zero. But Team Zero, if they pick up a fast Blink Dagger on Magnus, even if they don't, skewer 1200 range, such a good ability to get into the thick of things that I'm not really too sure how Druidz will be able to position themselves. Necrolite, the range on his Death Pulse is so short that he wants to be in the middle of everything. So, let's see how these lanes will shape up, I guess. Probably going to see a Necrolite solo middle. That seems to be the most likely choice. Chaos Knight being supported by Twin Head Dragon and Tidehunter. But 2 melee heroes and Twin Head Dragon with not the greatest range. Bounty Hunter should be okay, as long as he plays very safe. We'll see if the supports picked up some very early Sentry Wards. Yes, you see Twin Head Dragon immediately pick up Sentry Wards, knowing that Bounty Hunter will most likely be in the offlane position. But even if Team Zero doesn't want to face a Trilane against that lane, because that lane is so tanky, has a lot of damage, and will be so difficult to bring down, so they're going to do a defensive Trilane most likely. And they're probably going to put Dragon Knight, maybe a defensive dual lane. I think Keeper of the Light Magnus could be a solid mid lane pairing. Really just enough damage to keep the Darkseer back is all Team Zero needs. And if they don't keep the Darkseer back, their push will get going so much earlier. And they have pretty solid late game to fall back on. Magnus, a very powerful late game hero. Dragon Knight, of course, one of the better late game heroes because he's so tank. He does need a lot of items in order to be really successful as a late game hero. But he's pretty beastly with that level 16 Frost Epicenter Dragon. And Bounty Hunter, if he gets enough farm, will be quite powerful on the late game as well. So we'll go over the players in the teams. Team Zero, we have Kuroki playing the Keeper of the Light Fata playing the Magnus. Alex is playing the Shadow Shaman. Black is playing the Dragon Knight, and Paz is playing the Bounty Hunter. So I guess RMN changed his name to Alex. I'm not too sure. Meanwhile, on the side of Druidz from the UK, got Nemi.cn or Nime.cn playing the Necrolite. Druidz Trash playing the Twin Head Dragon. Hopefully his Twin Head Dragon will be better than that. It probably will be. No Tolerance playing the Tidehunter, James playing the Chaos Knight, and RB Dash playing the Darkseer. I think I've heard of RB Dash and Trash before, but I'm not too sure. I'm not gonna pretend that I know the reputation of the team on Druidz, but hopefully they'll put up a good fight. They have very, very powerful team fight, and if they get the Vacuum Ravage combination in conjunction with immediately picking somebody off with the Reaper Scythe, then they could be very, very well positioned to win the game. But the problem is that all the heroes need quite a bit of experience in order to get going, and Tidehunter, that Ravage 150-second cooldown definitely could be abused. Meanwhile, the longest cooldown on the side of Team Zero is that Serpent Wards, which really isn't too necessary in order to have a huge engagement. Of course, Magnus Ultimate, only 100-second cooldown, really not too bad once you think about, because if you get the reverse polarity off, it'll pretty much win a team fight by itself. 4-second stun in conjunction with the vacuum effect is no laughing matter. And we are going to see a dual lane, as Kuroki is going to be pulling for the Magnetar, going to constantly refill his mana, but Magnetar already going to go for the fast battle, so it doesn't even need that Keeper of the Light. As Kuroki just going to try to get Dragon Knight and Shadow Shaman as much experience as possible. So, yeah, we'll see how this lane decides to shape up, but I'm not too hopeful about the Druid's prospects in the early game. This lane can't really push that well. They have Twin-Eyed Dragon who gets that points into Liquid Fire, but it's not like Tidehunter has very, very powerful creep clearing abilities until he gets a couple points in Aegir Smash. If he does manage to get that, then he should be okay. Chaos Knight doesn't have any AoE to speak of whatsoever either, just pretty tank and deals solid damage. But really not too many strong pushing abilities aside from that Liquid Fire. So Bounty Hunter should be safe in this lane for quite a bit. Meanwhile, Necrolite will just want to stay in this lane as long as possible. Necrolite needs a lot of items in order to make himself effective in the mid to late game. Necrolite, probably one of the strongest carries in the game, but he just takes so long to get going. He's a very item dependent carry, and but if you do get that, then he should be able to outlast most of the battles, because Death Pulse, because of Reaper Scythe, because of Heartstop Aurora, and because of Sade is constantly refilling his HP and his mana. And because Death Pulse will just be healing his teammates all the time, and considering there's not too much burst damage, only a fully charged Illuminate, some Shockwave, Ether Shock, well, they have a solid amount of AoE burst damage on the side of the Radiant, with pretty short cooldowns, so yeah, Necrolite will need to get farmed very, very quickly. We'll see if he decides to go for a fast pipe or a fast mecha. Darkseer might want to go for the pipe and leave Necrolite to pick up the mecha, even though Darkseer has been getting the mecha in most of these games as of late. Necrolite not too common to pick up, but this patch has been so versatile in the number of carries who have been viable. Pretty much every carry I've seen some play, aside from Bloodseeker, who will always remain Bloodseeker and never viable, apparently. But yeah, in case you're just joining me, I'm VBallin773 from DotaCommentries.com. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/bballin773, and this is the Fragbite THOR Open Qualifier number 6, round number 2, as both teams received a walkover win in their first matchup. And this is an open tournament, and if the winners of every qualifier will get the chance to go to Stockholm, Sweden, to compete for around $20,000 in cash prizes, $18,800 converted, because it's like 130 Swedish kroner, I think, is the total prize payout. So definitely not an insignificant sum of money, and of course that vital land experience that every team wants to get in order to compete at the biggest stages in Dota 2, because Dota 2, man, it's growing so fast, and I'm really, really hyped. But Magnus is going to reconnect to the game. Already has 2 last hits, already outfarming this Necrolite. Solid job. Scaling Skewer, not even using it at the moment. A lot of pings going on as both teams jockeying for positioning. But yeah, I'll be the main caster for this tournament. Hopefully I can get somebody like Loomis to join me during some of these games at the moment. But, you know, if not, hopefully you guys will stick with me anyway. And we'll see how this goes. But I'm gonna be very interested, because I think Team Zero already has a set game plan. Get level 6 and then push. That's their game plan. Get the track gold bonus from the Bounty Hunter track if they get any kills, but they don't even need to get any kills, so they have a lot of pushing in power with the Illuminate from the Keeper of the Light, with the Poison Dragon from the Dragon Knight, with the Mass Serpent Wards from the Shadow Shaman, and always have to be careful from grouping up because of that Magnus reverse polarity is so powerful. And keep in mind, Dragon Knight will just get that empowered damage boost, which is so effective and will help his poison damage push down towers so much more faster. I mean, at max level, Empower gives you 50% bonus damage and a 50% cleave damage. I think the cleave is only for melee heroes. It should say only for melee heroes, because Dragon Knight, of course, already has range cleave in the form of a splash damage. But Bounty Hunter, we'll see if Druids will try to play very aggressively against him. Bounty Hunter not picking up any experience at the moment, but keep in mind this is less than a minute into the game. But we're going to get back into this. I expect to be a very tame laning phase, unless Darkseer gets ganked, because Xiaoshan does a pretty good job in terms of shutting down Darkseer. And if Darkseer gets stunned, he'll be stunned for about 5 seconds. Dragon Tail, pretty high duration, 2.5 seconds. L1 has not even skilled a skill point at the moment. Black, a very, very powerful farmer. Gonna save his skill points till absolutely necessary. Does pick up pretty much a standard build. Picks up 1 point into Dragon Split to get that regen and that armor to prevent a bit of physical accident, and then he'll max out the Fire Breath, or the Breathe Fire as it's called. For that AoE nuke, pretty strong burst damage as well. Darkseer just gonna skill Ion Shell, not really being harassed, so able to stay in this lane quite effectively, and does have this this Observer constantly scouting out the positioning of Xiao Shaman. Xiao Shaman knows that you didn't have to de-ward, this pole camp not blocked off, so he doesn't really know where the ward is on the side of the Dire, but pretty smart ward placement by the Darkseer, because he knows Xiao Shan would most likely just cancel that ward. And we'll see if Darkseer can pick up some gold. He picked up at least 1 gold from that creep. Let's see if he picks up another creep. Nope. A bit unfortunate for him. Meanwhile, Bounty Hunter, level 2, almost level 3, doing a solid job in terms of getting experience, has not taking any points of harassment just yet. Twin-Headed Dragon, not really the best hero in terms of harassing, because he has pretty short range, not the highest move speed either. I think his range is 450? 400, so not even that good. Pretty low armor as well, so Bounty Hunter can pretty much go to town, and he's not going to receive too much backup support from the likes of Tidehunter and Chaos Knight, who have pretty high move speed, but of course are melee. Meanwhile, Fada picking up a regen rune. He did pick up the very fast ball, went for 3 GG branches as well as said Tango, so he had like 375 gold left to use for that bottle. But Necrolight's going to be staying in the lane. Necrolight should not die to a solo Magnus. So we'll see at what point Keeper of the Light Kuroki will venture out and just go to town on that lane. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty boring laning phase at the moment. I don't expect to see too much action. The only kill that might happen will be against the Darkseer, just because Shackle in conjunction with Dragon Tail in conjunction with Hex just does so much duration in terms of stun. But that ward going to be skying out the positioning of Xiaoshan, so Darkseer, if he's smart, should never be caught. You know, Bounty Hunter venturing a bit close to the Sentry Ward, but now is probably outside the range. Trying to jack a little bit of the experience from these creeps. Gonna go in for the last hit, steal a small Centaur. Gonna steal some Dire creeps as well, so getting a nice amount of gold. And we can see Black already going on that last hit train, 22 CS. Chaos Knight not doing a bad job, but because the creeps are constantly under his tower, because of the pulls, of course he won't be getting every last hit, as you just see he missed one. A lot more difficult to last hit under the tower than, you know, people expect. Especially with Chaos Knight, who does have very random damage. You can see 77 is just the average. His damage ranges from 62 to 92. So definitely not something you want to worry about. As looks like Bounty Hunter coming in for the mid lane gank does kill the Necrolite with the help of the Magnetar. Did not expect Bounty Hunter to roam so early on, but already level 4.5. Gonna hit that level 6 very, very soon. If that ganking train gets going, the Necrolite will just be shut down. Necrolite is not really a hero who can come back from a huge deficit in early on. Meanwhile, Dragon Knight just continuing the farm train. Has 1500 gold in the mech. We'll see if he picks up a fast defensive item to go for early pushes, or picks up a traditional carry item like a Hand of Midas and just decides to farm all game. We'll see as the courier is flying out. Does have the Hand of Midas recipe, so going to go for a bit more farm. And meanwhile, they want to apply a bit of pressure to this Bounty Hunter, going to try to push down the tower very early on. The creep wave is in their favor because of that pull, but keep in mind, like I said earlier, not too many strong pushes on the side of the Dire. They only have Liquid Fire to really get going for them. So Bounty Hunter is going to receive a lot of gold and a lot of experience. Janata going to help out his last hitting by a decent amount. So not too sure what Druidz is thinking with this push. Bounty Hunter is just going to receive almost level 6 just from these couple of waves, and that track will be going already. And keep in mind, track will also be used to help Bounty Hunter escape from situations, gives him that move speed for just a bit. And from very slow heroes like Tidehunter and Chaos Knight, who are not that slow but are melee, and Twin-Head Dragon is a very slow support. Haste Rune being popped by the Magnetar, just going to use Shockwave to scare away the Necrolite. No, he wants to go and cast Reverse Polarity as well. Illuminate going to be channeled, Death Pulse being used, but Magnus knows he needs to get the heck out of there. Another Shockwave going to cancel this out and does pick up the kill. Nicely aimed blind Shockwave by the Magnetar. They're going to go back in for the Darkseer. Can they get one more Shockwave? Skewer going to be casted yet again. Kuroki and Fada, a dynamic duo, going to kill the Darkseer. Not too sure why Darkseer teleported in. Well, he wanted to save the Necrolite, so that's why he teleported in. But unfortunately, stayed around a little bit too far, and this Magnus is getting a lot of firm early on. Already has 1,400 gold in the bank. We'll see if he picks up something like a Ring of Health or Perseverance, or just decides to save up for that Blink Dagger. I mean, Skewer's just been going to town already. Meanwhile, Black is just farming as happily as ever. Finished the 5.5 minute Midas. So this Midas is going to be very, very powerful. And keep in mind, Midas on a pushing hero, not too bad because it gives that attack speed, so it can push down towers a lot more quickly. And that experience advantage to an experience-dependent hero like Dragon Knight will definitely not be unappreciated. He'll hit level 16 so much faster, and once he gets level 16, those Frost Splash damage epicenters will just be so deadly. And now we see the problem with Necrolite. Really just needs to stick in lane and just get a lot of farm. But really can't do too much in terms of defending himself against push. Can only press that Death Pulse button and hopefully get himself out of trouble. Put a point into Heartstop Aura just to prevent a little bit of the pushing going on. But really, he's totally helpless against this push at the moment. So yeah, the big problem with Druid's lineup is already being exposed. They don't have too much anti-push. And it's going to really come down to this Chaos Knight. Receiving a decent amount of free farm. Has picked up the Treads and the Bracer. Going to go for the drums. But we'll see if the smoke gank by the Dire managed to come up very effectively. Tidehunter only level 3, Twin-Head Dragon level 3 as well. 1 level to Ice Path. 1 level might be all that they need as Necrolite is going to get initiated by Magnus. Hex is going to go down onto the Tidehunter. Darkseer is teleported back in. Looks like Necrolite is held in place. The Illuminate is enough to finish the Necrolite off. Reverse Polarity being casted on 2. This Magnus is going to town, but Chaos Knight teleports in as well. Magnus is going to die. This Darkseer teleport might just help the Dire to get at least 1 kill. Chaos Knight being surged, and here comes the track onto the Chaos Knight. First track gold if he can pick up the kill, but Chaos Knight gonna get the kill on the Shadow Shaman, and Darkseer is gonna have to. Darkseer did take the fall. Bounty Hunter is gonna have to back up. But overall, that did favor the Raid. They picked up a tower, picked up 2 kills, and they lost the Shadow Shaman and the Magnus. Magnus, of course, had a pretty high bounty, but Shadow Shaman not too important. And keep in mind, all the while, Black is farming. As you can see, picked up the Boots of Speed. It's going on a tear. Those teleports are very necessary by the Chaos Knight and the Darkseer, but that does cost them some time in terms of free farm, in terms of getting experience, and Darkseer did die. So that's going to be very, very, very difficult for them to come back. But we'll see if Necrolite can get a moment's peace in terms of farming up. Necrolite, very awkward attack animation, not the fastest projectile, not the highest damage either. Doing whatever he can, does pick up 20 last hit, so he's doing alright, I guess, in that regard. But the problem is he's being pressured so heavily, and looks like the Rain just want to go in for the push. Kuroki already level 7 on Keeper of the Light. Check out the levels early on. You can see the Rain have an enormous level advantage. Tidehunter only level 3. They really want to get that Rouch going as soon as possible. But Tidehunter in a tri-lane, really not the best hero, especially if they can't get the push. Or if they can't get a kill either. Twin-Head Dragon only level 4. Probably picked up the second point in the Ice Path. He did. Gonna have a little bit longer of a stun duration, but meanwhile, looks like Chaos Knight and Bounty Hunter are gonna duke it out on the top lane. That track gonna be enough, as Darkseer did pick up a kill on Dragon Knight with the help of the Necrolite and the Twin-Head Dragon. Black immediately buys back. Probably did not lose too much gold, so I guess it might have been worth it for this buyback. Because he'll probably pick up a bit more gold in terms of farming it up. Just try to maximize the amount of gold he can pick up. Definitely not a rage buyback, as this middle tower going to take a lot of pressure. So looks like Zero going to pick up a tower. Magnus does get the last Illuminate being casted. The Illuminate unfortunately whiffs because it was not, the reverse play did not position the heroes appropriately. Reaper Scythe going to come in, slowing down the Magnetar, but Reaper Scythe at level 1 does not deal too much damage when the hero is missing HP. It only does, I think, 0.4 damage per point of HP used, as Chaos Knight might get shackled or hexed by the Shadow Shaman. Unfortunately, cannot catch up to that speedy horseman. But meanwhile on the top lane, Bounty Hunter is going to take this time to farm passive phase boots and going to push down this tier 1 tower, and there's really not too much Druidz can do to respond. Already use a lot of gold in terms of getting teleport scrolls. And keep in mind, this early in the game, considering the supports are not getting any farm. As you can see, Tidehunter no CS, Jakiro 2. They're really going to have to be very frugal on how they spend their money. And they don't want to spend too much of their money on teleport scrolls when they don't even have basic necessities like boots or anything like that. As the huge amount of burst damage, Darkseer is immediately going to go back to the fountain from full HP. You can just see that Illuminate and Ether Shot combination drain Darkseer. So now you can defend the push. Really nicely done by Team Zero. And this is looking to be a little bit one-sided. As Dragon Knight going to go to town on this tower, not even using his dragon form. Dragon Knight, even though he did die, already level 9, performing quite admirably. Highest level in the game. That Hanamai's doing an impressive job. But it looks like the Dire want to go in, trying to get the stun off on Alex, get a 4-second stun. Alex is going to take the fall. An early mechanism being picked up, so that's going to keep Alex alive a little bit longer. And cast Sentries as well as getting the Hex off. Can they kill the Chaos Knight? Here comes Magnetar coming in with a huge range of Skewer. Picks up a kill on the retreating Heroes, picks up a kill on the Chaos Knight, and meanwhile Tidehunter is going to take the fall. Another shockwave right to the face. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. Meanwhile, Necrolite was on the offensive, trying to pick up the Bounty Hunter, but unfortunately not able to do that. Necrolite just really wants to stay in one place and spam that heal. In these very, very chasing-oriented teamfights, he is really not a strong hero. I'm really puzzled by this Necrolite pick by Druidz, and that might just cost them, as double damage being popped on the Magnetar. Already the mechanism up on the Shadow Shaman, I think finished it. No, that was Keeper of the Light. Kuroki having the very early mechanism. Nice usage of that to save Alex. And Alex was able to drop the Sentry Wards, get that Hex off. And now it looks like Team Zero in complete control. Gonna go for the Roshan. And really there's not too much that the Dire can do to contest this. Tidehunter and Jakiro so low level that they don't even have their ultimates just yet. Tidehunter really wants to get that level 6. Nice decision by Druidz. Gonna set Tidehunter in solo lane, try to pick up that Ravage because they know the only way they can win the team fight is on the back of the strength of Ravage. But even if Druidz wins a team fight, keep in mind Ravage has a 150-second cooldown. So that provides 2.5 minutes where Team Zero can pretty much do whatever they want. Black picks up the Aegis, already level 10. Only has the treads, 2,900 gold in the bank, not missing that death too much. As keep in mind, if Druidz lose their game, they are out of the tournament. It is best of one all up until the semifinals because this is an open tournament. So we'll see if Team Zero can make short work of Druidz. Magnus picks up Invisibility Rune. Looks like the Dire did scout out as Chaos Knight and Darkseer are gonna make a hasty retreat. Drums picked up on the Chaos Knight. Magnetar gonna be very close as the Blink Skewer missed completely. But now Chaos Knight is just going to play very defensively. Looks like Druidz will not even contest this tower. Going to try to save their efforts for the base, but that means more gold going into the pockets of the Team Zero. You can see, oh my god, not even 14 minutes in the game, but the gold graph shows over 14k gold advantage experience, speaking volumes as well. But this gold chart really huge, and that's power of track, but more importantly the power of early pushing. No towers died on the side of Team Zero at the moment. Meanwhile, they've taken all the tier 1 and tier 2 towers on the map. Dragon Knight gonna go to town, Mass Sentient Wards and the Dragon Form being popped. Getting that Empower base damage increase as well. And really, how is Druidz gonna initiate this fight? Tidehunter just picked up level 6, this is what they need. But will they be in time to save their tower? They did not want to let that tower die. Gonna miss a lot of DPS. But Tidehunter's gonna have to charge in there if they want to save this Rax. He's really gonna have to go in. As Track gonna go on the Necrolite. Here comes Tidehunter approaching very menacingly. Chaos Knight gonna initiate on the Dragon Knight. Here comes Tidehunter, gets a Ravage only on 2. Nice spread by Team Zero. Shockwave, reverse polarity. And that's all she wrote, everybody. This is gonna be GG. Full team wipe, and Tidehunter's ultimate will be down for another 150 seconds. Team Zero absolutely crushing Druidz, and they're gonna go for the next tower because they know there's not much that Team Druidz can stop them, especially with the Ravage on cooldown. Black just gonna go to town. Knows he has the Aegis, so he can just tank up this tower all day and all night. Really not too afraid of taking too much damage because he still has the Aegis. As Magnus gonna blink in no mana, but keep in mind, Keeper of the Light will constantly refill his mana. Keeper of the Light just such an annoying hero to deal with, as Middle Rock's going to be given up for free mechanism being used by the side of Team Zero, and there's really no safe way that Druidz can initiate on this. Dragon Knight still has the Aegis, just going to keep hitting that barracks, going to pick up 2 barracks very, very easily, 4 times the number of kills on side Team Zero, and it's going to approach very, very quickly, vacuum sucking everybody in, but no Rad should back it up. Darkseer trying to get that Ion Shell damage. Ion Shell, very, very powerful skill. Let's see if they can kill one hero. Looks like Chaos Knight might take the fall. Bounty Hunter doing so much damage. Black does kill the Tyrant buys back, but Druidz knows that this is GG. They call it. GG well played. In less than 16 minutes, GG being called by Druidz already, and Team Zero easily makes short work of their opponents. And I don't think Druidz played necessarily too bad. You know, they had appropriate reactions to the teleports. They teleported in with the Chaos Knight, they teleported in with the Darkseer. I think they just got completely outpicked by Kuroki, as I'm not too sure if their lineup in their lanes made too much sense, as they really wanted early game experience in order to help prevent the push, and when the push came, there was really nothing that Druidz could do to stop it. So this is going to be the end of the road for Team Druidz in this qualifier, but hey, they have 2 more qualifiers to sign back up, but not too much time left. Meanwhile, Team Zero, we'll see if Black can make it and try to win the qualifier for the 2nd time, as he definitely wants that spot in Stockholm, Sweden, with the help of Kuroki, Alex, and the rest of his team. But Radiant take a one-sided victory in the first match of the Fragbite THOR Open. And I will be back shortly to bring you more action very, very soon. Thanks for watching. I'm bballin773. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Twitter and Facebook. But this has been the Fragbite THOR Open Qualifier number 6, guys. And I will be back very, very shortly. So thank you for watching, and see you soon.